Circuit Court for the County Clare is now in session. Allow Roy Genie presiding.
You may be seated. In the case of People versus Andrew Allen Finn, counsel identify for the record, please.
Morning, Your Honor. Mark Webb on behalf of the people.
Morning, Your Honor. Gerald White representing Mr. Finn.
And this was set as a status conference, but we haven't had any pretrial yet. So a pretrial summary has been submitted to the court. Have you received that, Mr. White?
No, I have not, Your Honor.
Jerry, I emailed it to you about a half hour ago.
Oh, okay. I have not. I've been looking through my emails, but I haven't found it yet. Can I take a moment to do that?
Sure. And you are Andrew Allen Finn?
That is correct, sir.
All right.
I would inform the court that I have received the pretrial summary. I just printed it out and I'm just reading it right now. Your Honor, could I have a moment to go into a breakout with Mr. Finn?
You may.
Okay, you should have the option to join that breakout room now.
Thank you. Yeah.
White, you've had the opportunity to talk with Mr. Finn. How do you wish to proceed today?
Your Honor, based upon the pretrial summary that I have in my possession, it's our intention to enter a plea pursuant to the pretrial.
All right. Mr. Finn, how old are you?
I am 31.
You raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. White, is your client waiving the reading of the information
Yes, Your Honor.
and waived the preliminary examination? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Mr. Finn, you're being charged with count 1, controlled substance possession of methamphetamine. That's a felony that carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and or a $15,000 fine. And there may or may not be license sanctions with this charge. The minimum is discretionary with the court. You understand the charge and the possible penalties?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down now.
Sorry.
There's one of 3 possible pleas you may make to this charge. You may plead guilty if you are guilty, but don't plead guilty unless you are guilty. You may plead not guilty, or you may stand mute, in which event the court will enter a plea of not guilty for you. You understand that one of three possible pleas you may make.
Yes, Your Honor.
Answering to count one, controlled substance, possession of methamphetamine, how do you plead?
Guilty.
You understand that no one may make any promises for this court as to what your sentence will be.
Yes, Your Honor.
Court further informs you that if your plea is accepted, you will not have a trial of any kind and therefore give up the following rights. The right to have a trial by jury, the right to have a trial in front of this court sitting without a jury, the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, the right to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, the right to question all witnesses against you, the right to have this court order witnesses on your behalf into court to testify at trial, the right to remain silent and not have that silence used against you during trial, and the right to testify at trial if you wish to do so and have your testimony considered in the same manner as any other person's testimony. Do you understand these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand by pleading guilty, you give up each and every one of those rights.
That I do.
Mr. Webb, what is the plea agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for the defendant plea of guilty is charged to the count and the information that is possession of methamphetamine, we will recommend no initial incarceration, and he can choose between being sentenced under Section 7411 if he's otherwise eligible, or under a 1-year delay of sentence. And if he successfully completes that delay, then a reduction to the 1-year misdemeanor of use of methamphetamine.
Mr. White, is that your full and complete understanding of the plea agreement?
It is, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Finn, did you hear it was put on the record as the plea agreement?
I did, Your Honor.
Did you understand it?
Yes, I did.
And are you in agreement with it?
I am, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you anything beyond what was stated in the plea agreement to induce you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Has anybody threatened you or your family in order to induce you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you that if you pled guilty, this court would be lenient upon you in any way?
No, sir.
Is it your own personal choice to plead guilty?
It is, Your Honor.
And are you doing so freely and voluntarily?
That I am.
Do you have any questions about what the court has told you?
No, Your Honor.
Have you understood everything that the court has told you?
That I have.
In light of everything that the court has told you, do you still wish to plead guilty?
That I do.
Drawing your attention to on or about January 6th of 2020, were you in Hayes Township, Clare County, Michigan?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
And did you have in your possession some methamphetamine?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And you knew it was methamphetamine?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any license or prescription to have that methamphetamine in your possession?
No, I did not.
Satisfied with the factual basis, Mr. Webb?
Yes, Your Honor.
Satisfied with the factual basis, Mr. White?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Does the court comply with the court rules, Mr. Webb?
You have, Your Honor.
Does the court comply with the court rules, Mr. White?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court has not agreed upon the possible plea or the possible sentence with either the prosecutor or defendant or anyone acting in the interest of either. Court is convinced that the plea is accurate and has been freely, voluntarily, understandingly, and knowingly made. Plea is accepted and ordered entered upon the records of this court. Sentencing will be set for June 14th at 9:20 a.m. Defendant is referred to the Department of Corrections for the preparation of a pre-sentence investigation report.
Would the court consider a bond reduction or a PR bond for Mr. Finn based upon circumstances at the jail at the present time with COVID?
Well, the court would consider it mostly because of the recommendation of no initial incarceration. He has spent approximately close to 2 months in there, but that was because he failed to appear last year. Mr. Finn, are you going to appear at the next court date?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're gonna meet with the Department of Corrections and do what they tell you to do?
Yes, Your Honor, I will.
All right. The court will dismiss the contempt of court charge for failure to appear and change the bond to a PR bond. All the original terms of that original bond apply, Mr. Finn.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Medley, any questions or information for Mr. Finn?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Finn, is there a phone number where you can be reached?
Yes, ma'am, there is.
Okay, what is that?
It is 231-942-2210.
Okay, and what is your address?
I do not have a current address at the moment. My last current address was 849 Ritchie Road, and that's Gladwin, Michigan, 48624.
Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to bring over PSI packets for you, after court is over. That way you have them, to fill out completely, and then contact, the office to get your, agent assignment. Okay, and I'll put the phone number on there for you.
Okay,
Okay,
And when you get an address of where you're gonna stay, Mr. Finn, if it's not at the Ritchie Road, contact the probation department and tell them what that address is.
yes, sir.
All right. Case adjourned to the date time set for sentencing. You're all set, Mr. Finn.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Calling the case of the People versus Timothy Joe Goodrich.
Morning, Your Honor. Mark Webb on behalf of the people.
Morning, Your Honor. Gerald White representing Mr. Goodrich.
Timothy Joe Goodrich.
Yes.
This was just set as a status conference, and partly because I think you have some pending charges in Wexford County.
Your Honor,
How do you wish to proceed, today, Mr. White?
Well, Your Honor, I've had quite a bit happen over the last day or so relative to Mr. Goodrich. I've been in contact with his attorney representing him in Wexford County, Mr. Nate Carnes. He's with the Public Defender's Office, and he indicates to me that he is working on an arrangement with with the Wexford County courts to allow Mr. Goodrich to plead to a probation violation and to move for a bond reduction to personal recognizance because he has been accepted at Harbor House to start a program there effective May 17. That's a Monday. And I received a letter to that effect this morning, and I forwarded it on to Mr. Webb. We've had a problem communicating by way of email because I understand he did not get a copy of that letter yet, but I resent it moments ago. Did you receive it, Mr. Webb?
yes.
Okay, finally, thank you. But anyway, I would ask the court to give consideration to that, if we can work out some sort of arrangement between Wexford and our county to resolve this case on behalf of Mr. Goodrich.
Well, Your Honor, if I may,
You may.
Jerry, I talked to Michelle. We would agree that he could go to the inpatient and receive day for day credit, but we still want the stipulation to 12 months in the jail.
Okay, I will have to, well, can I communicate that to Mr. Goodrich, Your Honor?
You want a breakout room?
Could I please?
Yes, all right.
Okay, you should have the option to join at this time.
Unmute, Mr. Goodrich. Unmute your, yeah, there you go. Your Honor, we're back from breakout.
All right. How do you wish to proceed today then?
Well, Your Honor, in light of the, conversation I've had with, both with Mr. Webb and with Goodrich, as long as Mr. Goodrich is allowed to present himself to Harbor House on the 17th, he's more than willing to go along with the offer that the prosecution has made. But he wants to make sure that he can be released to go to this on the 17th.
Any objection to that, Mr. Webb?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, Mr. Goodrich inquired of me as to when sentencing would take place. Would it take place after his Harbor House treatment, or would it happen beforehand? So that the
I
court.
think it would take place afterwards.
Okay,
And how long is he thinking the Harbor House will take?
well, it's going to take at least 3 months, Your Honor.
All
I
right,
think
okay.
it could take up to 3 months.
Yes, up to. Right.
It
Okay.
could take up to 122. It depends on the intake.
All right. How old are you, Mr. Goodrich?
36.
Raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
And Mr. White, is Mr. Goodrich waiving the reading of the information
Yes, Your Honor.
and waiving preliminary examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Goodrich, you've gone over the information with Mr. White, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You're being charged with a police officer fleeing in the 4th degree. That's a felony that carries a maximum penalty of 2 years in prison and/or a $500 fine. And the Secretary of State shall suspend your license for 1 year. You're also being charged as habitual offender 3rd offense, which means the maximum penalty could be double that. So the maximum penalty could be 4 years in prison. The minimum is discretionary with the court. Do you understand the charge and the possible penalties?
Yes, Your Honor.
There's one of 3 possible pleas you may make to these charges. You may plead guilty if you are guilty, but don't plead guilty unless you are guilty. You may plead not guilty, or you may stay on mute, in which event the court will enter a plea of not guilty for you. Do you understand the one of 3 possible pleas you may make?
Yes.
Answering to police officer fleeing in the 4th degree, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Answering to habitual offender 3rd offense notice, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Do you understand that no one may make any promises for this court as to what your sentence will be?
Yes.
Court further informs you that if your pleas are accepted, you will not have a trial of any kind and therefore give up the following rights. The right to have a trial by jury, the right to have a trial in front of this court sitting without a jury, the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, the right to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, the right to question all witnesses against you, the right to have this court order witnesses on your behalf into court to testify at trial, the right to remain silent, not have that silence used against you during trial, and the right to testify at trial if you wish to do so and have your testimony considered in the same manner as any other person's testimony. Do you understand these rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand by pleading guilty, you give up each and every one of those rights.
Yes.
Mr. Webb, what is the plea agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty to the fleeing and eluding in the 4th degree, and as a habitual 3rd offender, we'll dismiss the habitual 4th offender notice at sentencing. There's a stipulated 12-month jail sentence. However, we will agree to allow Mr. Goodrich to go to the Harbor Hall inpatient rehab program, and he can receive, we would agree that he can receive day-for-day credit for all the successful treatment that he receives.
And if he successfully completes that treatment, are you gonna still require that he finish out the 12 months of a sentence?
That's my understanding, yes.
Is that your full and complete understanding, Mr. White?
Yes, Your Honor, I would simply ask the court to give consideration that if he successfully completes his program, whether that 12-month stipulated sentence would be amenable to be changed.
Well, that's the problem with the case. If it's a stipulated sentence, then I probably don't have the right to reduce it.
The only way it would be reduced is he would get day-for-day credit for being in the program if he successfully completes it.
And which case, you know, the best way to do that would be to delay his Harborhurst intake until the end of the sentence, so he doesn't have to go back to jail. It's already been, you know, it's well known that going into treatment and then going back to jail does not help any defendants.
Is there any way that I could do the remainder on a tether or something?
Well, that's maybe something that needs to be talked about between the attorneys. So I think at this time, it might not be too wise to accept the plea at this point. Maybe counsel needs to work out the agreement a little better. Because I don't see any advantage of letting them go and then making them come back to the jail.
I'll talk to Mr.
So
Dimmock.
what we can do is we can have this put on the docket before the May 17th date. And if you have something worked out, then we can go from there.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is that acceptable?
So we'll put this on for May 10th at 9:20 a.m. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. We're in recess.
All right. All right, Fifth District Court for the County Players now in session. Roy G. Meek presiding.
May be seated on the case of the People versus Wesley Aaron Lentz. Your appearance for the record?
Angela Altabello.
And you're representing the bond company?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
All right. Was set for the forfeiture of the hearing for the forfeiture of the bond. You haven't acquired the presence of Mr. Lentz yet?
No, Your Honor, we haven't. We do have information that he is no longer in Michigan. I have an address for him in Georgia.
Okay.
Our recovery team can pick him up if we are able to obtain a nationwide pickup for him. We would incur all the costs associated with that.
All right, so you need an order from us to do that?
To bring him back legally, we do need a nationwide pickup.
All right. So the bench warrant I need to do differently, or what, I guess, what's required of the court?
To extend the parameters of the warrant for pickup. I'm not sure if it's like a 50-mile pickup right now, but we need it to be extended nationwide.
All right. Do you have a form that you can submit for that, or you just want the court to change it and give you a copy?
If the court could change that and issue us a copy, that would be wonderful.
All right, the court will do that, and make sure you get a copy of it. All right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
All right.
We're in recess.
All right.